When a moment erupts in public, like the incident at the Oscars, it becomes easy for the world to stare at the surface and miss the deeper truth beneath it. But public storms are rarely born in public places. They are usually the overflow of private battles nobody sees. Every person, no matter how gifted or admired, carries invisible weights, silent struggles, and emotional pressures that build up over time. And when life pushes hard enough, those hidden storms can break through in the most unexpected ways. That one televised moment was not merely about anger or reaction. It was the eruption of something deeper: fatigue, frustration, pressure, wounds, and expectations layered over time until the heart had no more room to restrain them. What the world witnessed was only the tip of an iceberg that had been forming long before cameras started rolling. People often forget that behind every achievement is a human being with real emotions, real history, and real vulnerability. When someone is constantly admired, constantly expected to perform, constantly placed on a pedestal, the pressure can become suffocating. And while the world celebrates the spotlight, it rarely understands the loneliness that can exist inside it. Many times, the higher a person rises, the fewer safe spaces they have to process their pain. This creates an environment where unspoken emotions go untreated, unhealed wounds stay hidden, and stress becomes a silent companion. A public outburst is usually not about the moment. It's about everything that happened before the moment. It's the unresolved conflicts at home. It's the internal war between character and pressure. It's the accumulation of criticism, expectation, exhaustion, fear, insecurity, and unacknowledged trauma reaching a breaking point. And when that moment finally erupts, people judge the explosion without ever acknowledging the fuse that was burning for years. What happened at the Oscars simply revealed what was buried inside. And this is something everyone can relate to. We all have situations where we hold in more than we should, where we try to look strong even when we feel weak, where we pretend everything is fine because people expect us to be composed. But the truth is, unresolved pressure has a way of leaking out. It may not happen on a global stage, but it happens in conversations, in relationships, in reactions, and in moments of vulnerability. The public storm becomes a mirror for the private storms we refuse to confront. That moment showed the world a universal reality. People hurt even when they smile. People break even when they look strong. And people make mistakes even when they are admired. It reminds us that celebrity doesn't erase humanity. Success doesn't erase stress. And public honor doesn't erase private pain. It was a wake-up call that behind every polished surface is a person who still bleeds, still struggles, still fights unseen battles. But it also teaches something deeper. Until private battles are acknowledged, healed, and confronted, they will eventually manifest in ways that can shock even the person experiencing them. The world saw an action, but heaven saw a heart crying for space, healing, and release. And that moment became a reminder that no one is exempt from emotional pressure. Not the famous, not the successful, not the beloved. Everyone carries burdens, and those burdens, if ignored, can erupt publicly. The beauty is that even in those moments of eruption, there's an opportunity for reflection. Public storms can become invitations for deeper healing. They force people to confront what they have avoided, to acknowledge what they have suppressed, and to begin the process of dealing with emotional weight that has been ignored for too long. It becomes a chance to rebuild, realign, and rediscover who they were before the pressure distorted their peace. Ultimately, what the world witnessed was not just a slap. It was a crack in the mask of perfection, a glimpse into a private storm spilling into public view. And instead of simply judging the storm, moments like these challenge us to recognize our own hidden battles and the importance of tending to the soul before pressure forces it to break in front of an audience. There is a pattern in life that many people never notice until it hits them personally. The enemy rarely comes for you when you are low, discouraged, or unnoticed. Instead, the attack often arrives when you are standing on a mountaintop moment, when everything appears to be going well, when favor is surrounding you and the world is clapping for you. This is because elevation attracts opposition. Success draws spiritual resistance. The moment you step into a higher place, the enemy considers it an invitation to test your stability, your character, and your emotional strength. It is in those celebrated moments when your name is shining the brightest that the enemy tries to dim your light through distraction, temptation, or emotional instability. That Oscars moment was a perfect example. It wasn't just a reaction to a joke. It was a reminder that pressure doesn't wait until people are alone and reflective. It hits when eyes are watching, when expectations are high, and when someone is already stretched thin by the weight of their accomplishments. When a person reaches a point of success, influence, or visibility, there is an invisible battle that intensifies behind the scenes. The enemy's strategy is simple: catch you when you're relaxed, when your guard is lowered, when your emotions haven't been fully processed, or when you are basking in the glow of recognition. The goal is to turn moments of honor into moments of humiliation, to twist celebration into chaos, and to transform a high place into a point of attack. Think about it. Nobody tries to rob an empty house. The enemy attacks where there is value, where there is potential, where there is destiny. You don't face storms because you are weak. Many times you face storms because you are significant. You don't experience sudden emotional conflict because you're failing. Sometimes it's because you're rising. The enemy knows that a moment of public collapse can do more damage than a year of private struggle. So the attack is timed for maximum impact, maximum embarrassment, and maximum confusion. This is why people often find themselves blindsided when things are going well. They don't expect adversity in seasons of blessing. They assume attacks only come when they are discouraged. But the truth is, the enemy despises progress. He despises growth. He despises influence. And when someone enters a season of visibility or honor, he looks for a crack, a wound, a frustration, a subtle insecurity to exploit. And if the person is not spiritually grounded, emotionally aware, or internally healed, that crack becomes the opening through which the enemy slips in and provokes a reaction that spirals into regret. The lesson in all of this is profound success requires just as much spiritual vigilance as struggle. The mountaintop demands the same humility, self-awareness, and prayerfulness as the valley, because it is often in the moments of triumph that the enemy seeks to provoke a fall. That Oscars moment teaches us that no matter how high we climb, we must never stop guarding our spirit, grounding our emotions, and staying connected to wisdom. The higher you go, the more intentional you must be about protecting your peace, your character, and your decisions, because at your highest moment, the enemy is watching, waiting, and hoping you forget that even victory requires vigilance. A single moment, no matter how explosive or embarrassing, does not have the power to define a person's entire life unless they allow it to. One act, one emotional reaction, one lapse in judgment, these things may be loud, they may be public, and they may be replayed by the world, but they are not capable of rewriting identity. Identity is shaped by years of character, consistency, discipline, integrity, and growth. It is shaped by how a person rises after the fall, not just by what caused them to stumble. When the Oscars incident happened, the world tried to freeze a man in a single moment, as if everything he had done before suddenly vanished. But life does not function that way, and neither does the human spirit. A mistake may reveal humanity, but it can never erase purpose. Every person has a moment when emotions override wisdom, when pressure overpowers composure, or when pain speaks louder than reason. These moments are not marks of failure. They are reminders of being human. The danger comes when society tries to fossilize a person in that moment, acting as if they are incapable of transformation or redemption. But the truth is that the worst moment in someone's life is only a snapshot, not the entire story. What matters is not what happened in a flash of weakness, but what a person chooses to do afterward. Do they learn? Do they grow? Do they take accountability? Do they rise or retreat? Identity is found in the aftermath, not in the incident. When someone allows one moment to define them, they give away their power. They surrender their future to a past event. They let shame overwrite destiny. But when a person refuses to let that moment name them, they shift into a place of strength. They take ownership without absorbing condemnation. They face the consequences without internalizing defeat. They understand that mistakes are teachers, not tombstones. They recognize that a moment can humble them, but doesn't have the authority to shrink them. This truth is crucial for everyone, not just public figures. Many people walk around today carrying the weight of something they said years ago, something they did out of anger, something that happened in a season of confusion, something they regret deeply but cannot undo. And because of that, they have convinced themselves they are unworthy of progress, undeserving of grace, or incapable of change. But the reality is that identity is always bigger than error. Who you are becoming is always more important than who you were in a moment of pressure. What happened publicly that night shows that even in highly visible moments, people are more than their failures. Growth doesn't stop because someone makes a mistake. Character doesn't disappear because someone has a bad night. Destiny doesn't collapse because emotions got out of control. A moment can bruise you, but it cannot bury you. It can expose your humanity, but it cannot erase your calling. And once a person realizes this, They stop hiding from their past and start using it as a catalyst for maturity. They transform shame into wisdom, regret into discipline, and disruption into clarity. A moment may echo loudly, but identity speaks deeper. Your purpose, your character, and your journey are far more powerful than any mistake you have ever made. Restoration never begins with a crowd pointing fingers. It begins when someone steps close enough to speak truth wrapped in compassion. In moments of failure, people often brace themselves for judgment, criticism, and rejection. They expect others to highlight their mistakes, expose their flaws, or remind them of what went wrong. But true restoration does not grow in the soil of condemnation. It grows in the soil of accountability offered with love. When someone falls publicly or privately, what they need most is not a harsh voice, but a steady one, not a spotlight on their failure, but a path toward their healing. Correction without compassion crushes the spirit, but compassion without correction leaves a person wandering without direction. Real restoration requires both. In the aftermath of the Oscars incident, the conversation that followed was a powerful example of this balance. The person who stepped in didn't shame, didn't accuse, and didn't elevate himself above the one who stumbled. Instead, he brought wisdom into a chaotic moment. He reminded him that he was still capable of making strong decisions, that he still had purpose, that the moment didn't destroy his identity, but it did require reflection. That kind of intervention doesn't tear a person down. It lifts them up while grounding them in responsibility. And this is the essence of accountability, telling someone the truth in a way that doesn't break their spirit, but builds their character. When people are hurting or embarrassed, the last thing they need is isolation. Shame thrives in solitude. Regret grows heavier when a person feels alone. Words spoken gently in a moment of crisis can become anchors for someone who feels like their entire world is collapsing. Compassion opens the heart. Accountability guides the steps. Together, they create a bridge from failure to recovery. A person cannot walk that bridge alone. They need someone who sees beyond the mistake and focuses on the soul behind it. Yet, accountability is not simply about telling someone what they did wrong. It's about reminding them who they are. It's about calling out their strength when their weaknesses have taken center stage. It's about helping them understand the weight of their actions without letting the weight crush them. It's about being a mirror that reflects both truth and grace. And when someone receives that kind of support, transformation becomes possible. They can acknowledge the damage without being defined by it. They can correct course without drowning in guilt. Restoration also requires humility from both sides. The one who fell must be willing to listen, to accept correction, to reflect deeply, to grow from the moment. The one offering support must be gentle enough to speak with empathy and wise enough to speak with honesty. This is the divine partnership that turns a painful moment into a turning point. When compassion and accountability meet, healing begins. When truth is spoken in love, clarity enters. When someone stands beside you instead of above you, you regain the strength to stand again. Moments of failure are unavoidable, but isolation afterward is optional. With the right voice offering the right words at the right time, a person can rise from what was meant to break them. Accountability opens the eyes, compassion steadies the heart, and together they become the first step toward restoration. In the most painful, embarrassing, or vulnerable moments of life, you quickly discover who is truly for you. It is easy for people to stand beside you when everything is polished, when your reputation is clean, when applause is loud and consistent. But when life exposes you, when weakness leaks out, when emotions get the best of you, the crowd often shifts. Some people pull back. Some judge from afar. Some pretend to care while secretly enjoying your fall. But the ones who remain, the ones who lean in instead of stepping away, are the ones who carry a different kind of loyalty, a deeper level of love, and a maturity that understands everyone is human. These are the allies who step into your storm without fear of getting wet. The aftermath of that Oscars moment proved this truth. Not everyone came with criticism, some came with courage. Not everyone spoke from a distance, a few walked close. Not to excuse the behavior, not to minimize the issue, but to offer clarity, grounding, and perspective. These are the people who refuse to let one moment of weakness redefine someone they've known for years. They understand that when emotions explode publicly, the heart is often in turmoil privately, and instead of amplifying the chaos, they offer calm. They speak life into a moment where shame tries to dominate. They help a person breathe again when judgment feels suffocating. True allies don't protect your image, they protect your soul. They talk to you, not about you. They don't use your downfall as a story to tell, they use it as a moment to stand with you. The world may see entertainment, but a real friend sees pain, a real friend sees confusion, pressure, emotional exhaustion, and the weight of being human in a world that demands perfection. And instead of adding to the noise, they become a voice of stability. These kinds of allies are rare because they're not motivated by popularity, proximity, or public association. They are motivated by relationship. They care more about your healing than their own reputation. They care more about your future than the opinions circulating online. They step between you and the world, not to shield you from consequences, but to help you navigate them without losing yourself. Their presence reminds you that failure doesn't make you unlovable, and embarrassment doesn't make you alone. Moments like these reveal that not everyone in your circle is truly in your corner. Some people celebrate your rise, but disappear in your fall. Some enjoy the benefits of walking with you, but are unwilling to walk with you through mistakes. But there are others, few but powerful, who show up when it matters most. They speak truth, but they speak it with gentleness. They offer correction, but wrapped in compassion. They don't flatter you, they fortify you. They don't pretend the moment didn't happen. They help you process it so you can grow from it. When life shakes you in front of the world, the people who rush toward you instead of away from you are a gift. They are the ones God assigns to remind you of who you really are when shame tries to blind you. They become the steady hands that help lift you when embarrassment tries to bury you. Their presence becomes a shield, a guide, and a comfort. They stand with you not because you are perfect, because they see the greatness in you even when you can't